Rochester Road, which is the Township Hall. If we could all just stand for the pledge, please. Ed, good veteran, could you start, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please stay standing. Oh, dear Lord, we've had a hard week this week with the passing of Chuck. And just please bless his family, Julie and Kelly, and put your hand on him. Now, for tonight's board meeting, please guide us with our words and wisdom. In the Lord's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you could just stay standing for 1 minute, we're just going to have just a moment of silence for Chuck. I'd like to just honor him this way, that he was one of our trustees and very enthusiastic about his job. And so if we could just take a moment. Thank you very much. You may be seated.
Here. Lori Fisher. Here. President. Supervisor Pearson.
President. Okay. We're going to wait till, I think we'll wait till 6:15 then. Department reports, any department reports? Pauline? None?
Department reports were submitted.
Okay, and anything, if anybody needs anything from me or from my office, you can contact me or my deputy supervisor. Any petitions? Okay, approval of the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Any comments? Not hearing any comments from the board? If we have roll call now, please.
Linda Garrett. Yes. Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Karen Arnold.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay. And we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Yes, before the board is a consent agenda consisting of the approval of the minutes for May 17, 2021, approval of the bills for May 2021, approve the MTA dues and the online learning, approve the annual fees for website hosting and authorization to sign agreement with Shoemaker Technology Group, and fire department purchase of a Paratech Maxiforce airbag set from Apollo Equipment for $7,500 from capital account as listed.
Okay, any comments from the board?
More. Yep.
Did I miss that?
MTA Principles of Governance.
Oh, yes, I forgot to add that one on. MTA Principle of Governance Pledge. Thank you.
And now, any comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
No further discussion, we have roll call on that, please.
Yes. Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Karen Arnold.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item number 2. This is where I get to do all the talking here. These are the SADs, or the Special Assessment Districts, and these are the public hearings. We'll go with A, which is resolution establishing a Lake District Special Assessment District for Indian Lake Improvement Association with authorization of the date amendment to the interlocal agreement. Township Addison, after they having a meeting. After doing legal notice to the proposed district, reviewed a special assessment rule prepared for the purpose of establishing a Lake District SAD within the land area in Addison Township. The SAD district is established by the comprised parcels listed on the petition. The petition as received from the requesting residents also defines the riparian and non-riparian parcels. The Indian Lake SAD is for the purpose of improvements maintaining the existing dam, dike, and the control of the aquatic weeds and plants. The township report, received petitions signed by 52.3% of the record property owners constituting more than 50% of the total land area of proposed SAD. The proposed collection rate is $165 per riparian parcel and $60 per non-riparian parcel, as defined by the petitioners for a period of 5 years, including a 5% yearly township administrative fee. Proper notice of the second and final hearing was published in the Oxford Leader on June 3rd, 2021, and June 10th, 2021, and a notice was mailed by first-class mail to each property owner within the proposed SAD. This is the public hearing, and this is where we listen, and if anybody has anything to say about this particular SAD, I'll open up the public hearing. We'll call it at 6:08. If anybody has anything to say about that SAD on the Indian Lake improvement, I'll ask one more time if anybody'd like to speak on the SAD. Okay, not hearing any, I will close the meeting. We'll call it at 6:09. Is there a motion to move the resolution establishing a Lake District Special Assessment
Before we
District?
do that, I would need to, for the record, report that a letter was issued by Michael and Patricia McPherson. They are against the SAD, and I would briefly going to state why. One is the size, they do not want that spray in the middle of the front area, and also it goes on to discuss the percentage as well. So they are against the SAD.
Okay, we'll take note of that. Okay, is there a motion?
I'll make that motion to approve the SAD. Support.
Motion having the support. Any further comments on that? Not hearing any. Could we have roll call, please?
Yes, Karen Bevel.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Everett Miller.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Just people coming in. I'll try to do these last SADs as quickly as I can. This is 2B, a resolution to establish a private road special assessment district for Lakeview Drive, Grampian Court, and Kennard. The township, after due legal notice, reviewed the special assessment road prepared for the purpose of defraying maintenance costs of the private roads, Lakeview Drive, Grampian Court, and Kennard roads in Addison Township, and may include grading, gravel, dust control, and snow removal. The township received petitions signed by 56% of the record owners, constituting more than 50% of the total frontage of the proposed SAD located within the township, requesting the amount of $125 per parcel for each of the next 5 years to cover maintenance and improvements, and 5% collection fee for the township, and proper notice for the second public hearing was published in the Oxford Leader on June 3rd, 2021, and June 10th, 2021, and a notice for the hearing has been mailed by first-class mail to each property owner within the proposed SAD. This is the public hearing. We'll open up the public hearing at 6:10. If anybody has any comments on the SAD covering the special assessment district for Lakeview Drive, Grampian, and Kennard, please speak. Not hearing, I'll ask one more time. If anybody would like to speak on that SAD. Not hearing any, I will close the public hearing at, we will call it 6:11.
I do have another written format for the public hearing. It is from Michael and Patricia McPherson. They are in favor of the SAD and also request that chloride be used for dust control.
Okay, we'll take note of that. No other comments? Would entertain a motion? Move the resolution.
I'll make the motion to establish a private road assessment district for Lakeview Drive, Grampian Court, and Kennard.
Second.
We have a second on that. There's no other comments, but a roll call, please.
Karen Bevel.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Everett
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Resolution so moved. I don't think I brought in that thing.
Want me to go get it for you?
Yes.
Where's it at?
You'll have to have. It's on my desk there.
What is it?
Huh? Okay, did we have roll call on that? No. Do we have roll call on that, please? Okay, so I'm on the 2C now. Should I finish these?
Yeah, I'll do this.
This is a resolution establishing a private road special assessment and a special assessment district for Meadow Court, Township of Addison, Oakland County, Michigan, after due and legal notice, reviewed a special assessment roll prepared and submitted by the residents for the purpose of defraying maintenance costs for Meadow Court, a private road in Addison Township. The township received petitions signed by 58% of the record owners and based on the tax rolls of Oakland County, constituting more than 50% of the total frontage of the proposed SAD, requesting the amount of $1,000 per parcel for each of the next 5 years for the purpose of maintenance and common elements, and a 5% collection fee for the township. Proper notice of the second and final public hearing has been published in the Oxford Leader on June 3rd, 2021, and June 10th, 2021, for the second public hearing, and the notice of the second public hearing was mailed by first-class mail to each of the property owners within the proposed SAD. This is the public hearing on Meadow Court, and we will open that meeting at, say, 6:13. If anybody would like to speak on that SAD, please come forward. Anybody would like to speak on that? Okay, not hearing any. We'll close that meeting at 6:14. Any comments from the board? Or if not, then we entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution establishing a private road special assessment for Meadow Court. Support.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second,
Support.
and we have support. Further comments? Go to roll call, please.
Yes, Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Lynn Garrett. Yes. Karen Guyval.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes, resolution is so moved. I'm going to finish this last SAD, so I don't lose my train of thought with all the other. This is a resolution establishing a private road special assessment district for Millstand. The township has to do legal notice to review the special assessment road prepared for the purpose of deferring maintenance costs. The private road of Millstand in Addison Township. It may include grading, gravel, dust control, snow removal. The township will receive petitions by 80% of the record owners based on the tax rolls of Oakland County, constituting more than 50% of the total frontage of the proposed SAD, requesting the amount of $175 per parcel for each of the next 5 years to cover maintenance or improvements, and a 5% collection fee for the township. And proper notice of the second and final hearing has been published in the Oxford Leader on June 3rd, 2021, and June 10th, 2021, for the second public hearing, and the notice for the hearing has been mailed by first-class mail to each of the property owners within the proposed SAD. This is the public hearing. We listen, and I will open up the public hearing, and we'll say 6:15. If anybody would like to speak on that SAD, please come forward. This is the SAD Millstone. And no one coming forward. I'd like to close the hearing. We'll call it at 6:16. Any comments from the board? If not, I'd entertain a resolution. I make a motion for the resolution.
I'll move the resolution to establish a special assessment district for Millstand on private roads.
Support.
I have a motion for support. No further comments. Roll call, please.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Guyval. Yes. Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. That resolution is so moved. Now, I'd like to take a few moments here someone. Marlene, if you could come forward here. Marlene Malaya, I don't know if everyone here knows that we have a cemetery auxiliary that was started back in 1910. Everyone knows our cemetery is one of the oldest cemeteries that's government run. That was 1843, and was a Revolutionary War veteran buried in our cemetery. Well, if you've ever looked at our cemetery, it's one of the most beautiful cemeteries in all of Oakland County, probably the whole state. And it doesn't happen by accident. It happens because we have wonderful people who look after the cemetery. Marlene.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to give you this certificate of recognition awarded to Marlene Malaya for many years of dedication and hard work as the Lakeville Cemetery Auxiliary President from 1999 to 2021 and an active member since 1989. The auxiliary couldn't have done it without you.
Oh, I
I wanted to give you this. And this was awarded on the 21st day of June 2021. So we wanted you to have this. And I know there's a couple other people that
Marlene?
Are
I've
you
been,
ready to take this?
yeah, of course, it's passed to me, but we couldn't have done it without Marlene and Gino all these years. And we're so grateful for your work and your dedication and your friendship.
Well, as everybody knows, every Wednesday morning, we used to come to the township and get tools, because we didn't have any. And then we went to the cemetery and worked. Now, that was Bob and Gwen Godkin and Jean and I. And we go up there and get absolutely filthy. You know, and then we go to Louis for lunch. And nobody seemed to mind. We worked hard, we really did. We found graves that probably hadn't been uncovered in many, many years.
You found poison ivy also.
Yes, found poison ivy. And a lot of other things, but that cemetery is full of history. If you have anyone buried down there, and you want to just go down and wander around, it's wonderful. It really is. And you know, my mother used to tell me this all the time. And I really thought, oh yeah, right, I'm gonna go around the cemetery. But I found myself doing the same thing with my kids. And now my son has finally started to take a little bit of interest. Not much, but a little bit. But I hope that my kids and somebody else, like Mary, and I know Mary will, because she has a lot of history there, will take a good look at it. It's got a lot of history. And her husband, Jim, found a lot of history that we didn't know about. And he wrote it down, which is wonderful.
It is.
Yes, it is. It's wonderful. It is beautiful history for Addison Township. So here we are, Mary.
Let me hold these for you.
Well, yes,
So
I
you
wish
can
you would.
pass way back.
Look at all these.
Yeah.
Beautiful. My gosh, you know how I love flowers.
I do.
Yep.
There you help her. Yeah.
give this to Gino.
Yes, give it to
So
me.
you told me, I just kick her down the road?
Well, they're gonna have a little
That's it.
reception,
Yes.
right on the other, in the
We're gonna
senior
have
room there, then there's
cake
some
and coffee.
refreshments. But we would sincerely like to thank you so much, and we would like to thank Mary. I know that you're gonna carry on in the footsteps, of big footsteps, but I'm sure that
She's gonna do a
well,
I appreciate that.
Mary, I think, is somewhere or another related to the Revolutionary War veteran, right?
Yes.
Somewhere, yeah, there, so.
Yes, he is.
There are only 33, I believe, Revolutionary War veterans buried in all of Oakland County, and we're the only one that has one in the whole northeast section.
Actually, we have two.
Two?
We're looking at a second one.
Oh, we are now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And he also fought in the War of 1812, so,
Yeah, Hewlett,
Yeah.
yes.
And we're also related.
And you're related too. Everybody in Leonard is related.
How
I've heard
How
that.
far could you go? 6 miles.
Yeah.
That's what I always say.
Well, thank you. We'll come and join you right after the meeting.
Okay, we're headed to the senior
Oh,
center
thank
for
you so
cake and
much.
coffee.
That's beautiful.
Thank you, Marlene.
That's beautiful.
Hurry up.
I know you're coming.
That's speed.
All right.
Wave at the camera.
Wave at the camera, Marlene.
Wave at the camera.
Wave at the camera. Oh, hey, hi. Yeah, I don't see you.
Okay.
Hi, Kim.
We'll move on with item number 3, resolution for final site plan review for the Salvation Army Camp, Echo Grove, approximately 577, 001 at 522, 151, 001, New Chapel Performing Arts Center. Zoning public institution T1, parcel size, 2 parcels, estimated 66 acres, project area, approximately 3 acres. So this is an awfully large project that's going on in Addison Township, the Salvation Army. Our township planner and engineer have signed off on the project. This time, I'd like to ask the applicant, if they're here, yes. I'd like to ask you if there's anything you can briefly explain to the board or anything. Or something you would
You
add.
probably are aware of the title. The building comprises 2 levels, 13,000 square feet apiece. It is a venue primarily for worship and the camp, but also for an opportunity for the camp participants to express themselves creatively through music and song. We have placed the building in the northeast corner of the property, which is probably one of the nicer hilly areas of the site, overlooks the lake. We've done everything we could to integrate the building into the environment so that we don't cause any kind of an eyesore. And I think we did a pretty good job of accomplishing that, and complementing its surroundings. We have been very, very careful about addressing the particular impacts that the new construction will have on the immediate environment. There's a lake a few hundred yards away from the building. We have a septic system that we need to maintain, and then the stormwater control system that will also, and has also been integrated with the project. And as you said, we've been dealing with the township engineers and the planners for probably the better part of 6 to 7 months. And we're happy that we've reached this point that everybody is happy with the results of it, and we're seeking final approval today.
I have a long history with the Salvation Army. My grandmother in England, I have a big life-size picture of her in her full Salvation Army uniform in England. And so there's a long history that in my family with the Salvation Army, and the Salvation Army is a great asset to our community. And it's a large camp. I understand that. Well, thank you. I'd like to note that all the approvals are in and we're ready to approve. The board, I'm going to ask you, do you have any questions on this? Yes.
Just one comment. Congratulations on the 100-year celebration you
Thank
just
you.
had.
Thank
It's
you.
quite a big step. That's it.
Okay, anybody else?
I just wanted to say that the plans are great, they're very expensive, so thank you to the engineer. I love the outlay and how that's gonna look, it's gonna be quite beautiful. I also want to ask the board, Mr. Davis is reviewing the final document, the performance agreement. He wants it labeled performance and security agreement, so I'd just like to add those 2 words to the resolution that we are probably going to be adopting. Thank you for all your hard work. Thanks.
Thank you for your help.
Any other questions from the board?
I'd like to make a motion to approve it.
Did you have a question?
I just had a comment. I think you recall at the planning commission, we spoke about increased traffic on the roads. And what did you say, there really isn't going to be any increased traffic or events?
The majority of the traffic that will be coming in and out of the camp is really parents and family of the camp participants, because it's primarily a children's camp, or minors camp, I guess is
So
what
there
you
really
would say.
isn't going to be any increase?
Shouldn't be that much different. I mean, there's going to be the occasional event they might have, their 4th of July or something, but under normal circumstances, as I understand it, you shouldn't see much of a difference, really.
What about construction traffic?
We've taken that into account, and that will all be integrated into the normal day-to-day operations with particular attention to also the inhabitants that live in a subdivision nearby. We'll be maintaining the roads and maintaining complete access, not only for them, but emergency vehicles as well.
So you will be maintaining the road, grading and chloride?
You're going to have heavy trucks running through, so yes, that'll have to be part of the process for the general contractor and the way that he manages the job.
Is that something that we can include somewhere?
And what did you want to include though?
He's saying he's maintaining the roads during the construction period, chloride and grading?
Well, yeah, because you have the camp road, and then it turns into gravel ridge. And
Right.
then I see in the, you have 2 entrances. You have the one coming around by the cafeteria
Right.
and then going out. There's
Right.
another new entrance that you're gonna,
The new entrance was actually, it will begin as a temporary entrance for truck traffic and heavy equipment, so that we're not going to be impacting anything anywhere else. After the project is completed, that becomes a permanent road, and we've set it up as a one-way exit, but also as an entrance for emergency vehicles. The paving and the parking in that area has been massaged so that some of the largest apparatus vehicles at the fire department.
so the construction traffic won't have to go around
No.
that blind corner where the cafeteria is. They'll be coming in before the blind corner.
So I'm speaking of Army Road. Is traffic coming in on Army Road for construction? Is that where the trucks go through?
Well, yeah, it'll be coming through probably the most direct route that they can
Yeah, that's
take.
what I'm concerned about, is the condition of the roads are always a little rough. And to increase it with the heavy trucks traffic, I was just concerned about that being maintained for the residents.
Well, that's something that we could certainly write into the specifications. I mean, if they do any damage out there, they're obviously liable for that,
So
so.
it's just daily heavy trucks, is what I'm.
I just have one comment on that, okay? The road commission does grade the road, okay? But Addison Township, a few years ago, we have taken on the cost of the chloride.
Right, which is,
Of the dust and everything, so Addison Township taxpayers pay that. There is an awful amount of traffic gonna be on that section, and most of it goes down Army to Curtis to hit the pavement at Lakeville. Possibly, maybe the camp could help us a little bit with that chloriding. It's not very expensive, and we have a chloriding contract with the company that's right in Addison Township. So maybe if you have the increased traffic there, you could help us, and I'll coordinate possibly with the road commission to see if we can get it graded a little more often with the construction to help the residents who live around there so they don't have a complaint. Possibly you could volunteer that, but that's not a deal breaker, you know. But it certainly would help the township and the residents to keep cooperation between everybody. So you might want to send that back. And it's not that expensive for the court. And I can get the grading for free from the road commission.
and that's reasonable too, given what you're liable to experience out there for the 8 or 10 months, you know, needed to deal.
Okay, well, any more questions from the board?
I wanted to know if that was gonna be part of the resolution, so I'm looking at Kelly, is that gonna be part of this?
I'll get Sangster to write it in, and I'll give it over to you tomorrow morning, is that okay? So we can add something that during construction,
We would need to amend the resolution now,
Yeah.
because the board's not gonna
Okay.
act on it again.
then, oh, that's right, the resolution is, sorry, contracts in my head, I apologize.
That's
Yeah, just during construction, we would assess the road, let's say, every couple weeks to determine
I'll
what the need is. I will too, I'm up there,
Yeah.
I'm up there a lot, between Matt and I.
Come on, we're just asking for a little help.
Absolutely, we understand completely.
Linda, can you help me what you want during construction, Salvation Army to provide?
Well, it depends who's getting hired. If I'm a contractor that's coming in from, let's say, Dryden, I'm not gonna come all the way to Curtis Road, I'm gonna take Army Road in. I'm just saying, I don't know who's gonna be awarded yet. I'm sorry. Sidebar.
Road maintenance.
Although I would appreciate any encouragement to the county to visit that road more often with regard to grading.
I'd like them to visit the whole township more often.
We're not getting a lot of miles of dirt
I get
road.
what I get, see, the township doesn't own a single road.
We don't disagree with her at all, but I gotta tell you
We
that,
understand.
because we spend money on Camp Road, we partner with Gravel Ridge, we spend a fair amount of money.
Yeah, camp is private.
Right, I understand that,
But
but a lot of those residents, chip in as well, and they part, so we're doing our best. I know Army, Curtis are a bit of a struggle sometimes.
the township has spent a lot of money on gravel there and chloride and
Jenny,
the taxpayers here act up.
It's
So
everybody.
we need to be
people
very
try to
conscious.
work together on it, maybe we could get some help from you during this, because that works an awful lot of traffic goes into Salvation Army, and it would be helpful.
Mr. Supervisor?
Yes.
We three have gotten together. We decided Army Road would be paved by you guys. You could do blacktop or concrete, either one.
a fundraiser maybe? A GoFundMe page?
Go fund me.
Yeah, that'd be the first time since 1920, 1921, you guys put the camp in, I believe, so. But,
I think we've got it.
Okay.
I'm making a motion, a resolution authorizing final site plan approval with conditions for Salvation Army. Camp Echo Grove, new chapel and performing arts center parcel 0521-277-001 and 0522-151-000. I'm going to read now, it be resolved that the township with recommendation in compliance with the Planning Commission, resolution February 9, 2021, approves the final site plan as submitted by the applicant and dated March 26, 2021, and received March 31st, 2021, as the final approval site plan with the following conditions: compliance with the standards of the engineer review dated June 14, 2021, execution of a performance and security agreement and bond. Their recommended bond amount is $467,211. Item C is to provide copies of the forthcoming OCHD septic system and water permits to the township. Item D, invoices submitted to the applicant paid in full to date. Item number E, assist in the maintenance of the road and chloride during construction as directed by the supervisor.
Thank you.
And that would be the motion.
I'll support.
and we have support.
Karen, is that you?
Yes. Any other comments? We have roll call then, please.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Laura Fisher.
Yes.
Ed Brightfield.
Yes.
Karen Brown.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Cody.
Yes. Resolution so moved.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Should hope there's some cake left for us.
Are we at the end?
No, I got some more here yet to go. This is item number 4, renewal of the township legal agreement through 2025 with our attorney Robert Davis. Bob Davis has been our legal counsel since the 90s. We're very fortunate to have him, very knowledgeable. He knows every aspect of this township, upwards and backwards. His rates have remained the same since 2018 and now through 2025. He's a lot less than all the other attorneys deputy sheriff, and he is one of the better attorneys, and he's very reasonable. Anyways, I'm very pleased to have Bob as our attorney, and I hope that we can continue to work with him. His agreement is pretty much self-explanatory, and I'll open up the board if you have any questions as to the renewal of his contract.
I'd like to also add that we started this recently. There is now a 5% discount on his invoice if it's paid by 15th every month. So that's just something new that he started, which is great.
Does the board have any comments?
Just gonna make a comment, I've known him since I was on the board back in '89, when he worked for other company, and he's done an outstanding job, as long as I've known him.
He was probably right out of law school then, huh?
Fresh, he was the assistant.
I
Now,
want to approve the renewal of, I'm sorry.
I was just wondering, is he out of jail now?
Yeah.
No. He'll appreciate
That's
that.
okay, I'm gonna put that in there. I move to approve the renewal of the Township Mutual Agreement through 2025 with Robert Davis.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Everybody's second now.
Yeah. Any other comments? If not hearing it, do we have a roll call, please?
Ed Rickman.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Karen Gretel.
Yes.
Lloyd Fisher. Yes. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, that's approved. Item number 5, this is a single waste hauler, okay? Just a brief introduction. A few years ago, I did try to attempt to get a single waste hauler because mostly because we have like 6 different companies, 6 different days, and we've now recently put a lot of money into our gravel roads and trying to grade them and chloriding, and the garbage trucks are very heavy vehicles. They tear up our roads, that many of them. And there's garbage out every day, no matter what street you go down, everybody has a different day and whatever. But a few years ago, we tried that, and I don't think the people were quite ready for it yet. But in the last year or two, there's been a small little crisis on garbage pickups. Some companies went out of business, some of them aren't picking up, some of them can't get workers. And so now we're getting a lot of calls that people say they're ready for the one garbage hauler now. You know, I'd like to just discuss it, whether we want to proceed or not. I know there's a lot of steps. First, we have to create all the documents for Addison Township. We have to adopt an ordinance, have public hearings, some public input. We have to authorize the RFPs, and we have to review them, and we'll hear from the public on this. But I'm hearing already from the public that it's time, and it takes a while to get this going. The other townships are all doing the exact same thing. Waterford has done it, Orion's done it. Everybody is starting to go through this so that we can get our garbage picked up maybe one day a week, and then the garbage cans are all off the street, or maybe half the township one day and half the other day, but then we don't have multiple garbage trucks 6 days a week. So I'd like to open this up for discussion to the board. Does the board have any discussion on this? Yes.
It's about time. I'm a citizen as well as a trustee, and it's about time we looked into this. Other local, I believe is Leonard doing this?
Well, I've gone around, and the average for some areas of the township, it's like $35 a month for garbage pickup. Other areas I have where the street will get together, and they're still paying like $25, $26. The Village of Leonard has a contract, and they have a manager who handles it, and they have been doing this for the last 8 years. It's been very successful, and they have recycling and garbage pickup for $16 a month, which is an awful lot cheaper. And like they always say, when you get a group, then we have power to negotiate. For negotiating right now, the garbage companies pick us all apart. There's no coherence to how many people they have on the street, and nobody knows what company is with who. So by uniting the township and then setting a contract with them, and possibly holding their feet to the fire as to when they don't show up, or if people have complaints, I think that the price will be lower, and we might be very successful at this like the other townships. Yes.
I think it just personally, it comes down to cost when it comes to garbage removal services. So if it's a cost saving measure, I can see where it would be beneficial to residents. But what about recycling as part of the program?
They do recycling, and we can probably negotiate instead of every week, every other week for the recycling part of it. But most people I hear do want recycling, and there are options in there that some people who go on vacation or leave for the winter or leave for the summer or whatever, they could get a discount by calling up the company. And I know that some people came in and talked to Lori about that they wanted debris removal, you know, the leaf, and there is an option in there too that you can pay a little bit extra and get, your vegetation removed or whatever, tree trimmings and stuff. So there are a lot of things that I think we need to talk about, but I think it would be good for the township. It's only going to get worse. We've had companies that came into here and have paid everybody up front, and then they call on the telephone, and everybody put their charge cards on, so we give you a discount if you pay way up in front, and then they went bankrupt right after. And so that's under investigation now, but I think it's time. So, any other comments?
I would just like to make sure that it's not going to be a burden on the staff for complaints. Mostly I've seen how they set it up where there's a 1-800 number that they call. I think that's important. I think it's a great idea to get some of these trucks off the roads. And that's just the biggest thing, and the cohesiveness of having a single carrier as far as the residents and having options where you can opt in or opt out. I'm not sure how that would work. Is this going to be paid by taxes or go on our tax bill?
Well, I think that's, yes.
One thing that I guess I wanted to mention is, I think like the village of Leonard, that is collected within their taxes, so there's essentially one check from the village of Leonard sent to the garbage company, so that would probably provide the cheapest rate. So I think after we get prices back, that'd be something we'd have to consider is how do we set this up? Do we want a cheaper rate, but maybe you can't opt out, and then the township maybe collects an SAD or within the taxes, or we could set it up as a utility billing where we bill quarterly or twice a year or once a year. Or we're just out of it completely and the garbage company bills correctly, directly to the resident.
That opt-in and opt-out option, I think is gonna, hopefully not, but could really increase what kind of rates we see. That's what I'm
It will.
concerned about with that.
And all the ones that I've seen, I haven't really seen them giving out. I've seen them give discounts. The latest one that I was looking at, they're giving discounts to seniors and to servicemen, a combined discount of 5%. They're also letting you discontinue service for a certain amount of times. The latest one is from Waterford, and they are direct billing the actual person, and their rates are fairly cheap. But if the person doesn't pay or the resident doesn't pay, then it's going to be Lori putting it on the tax bills. So I think when we bring it back to the board, we can have those different options on there. And then the options that I really like from Waterford, they gave 4 different types of service. They call them like the Supreme and then on down. So I think that's going to be great to offer. So the residents can still pick how high they want to go or what service they need in order to, for themselves. But yeah, then they also see the price, and the price will come down.
I'd like to see those contracts that the other communities have and see what they've got going on.
Well, I think what we're doing now is just, are we trying to get an
All I'm looking for is
idea?
just to authorize the administration, first of all, to move forward and with the proposal documents, and we'll start reviewing it, and we'll bring back what we find out to the board.
So Linda, what I could do is change them so that they're for Addison Township, and before we spent money with Mr. Davis, we needed to find out where we stood. And then I can give copies of some of the other ones that we're using, but we can go ahead and create them for Addison Township so that the board can decide what they like and what they don't like.
I would make a motion to proceed looking into this.
Sorry, I have a question before we.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Who's in charge of, like, who's gonna go solicit the pricing and everything, like who's?
Well, the RFP will determine that, so we'll have to create an RFP once we get narrowed down what we want in our RFP. So then I would probably ask the board, when we're really getting down the road, to not put it into the newspaper, because there's really, I guess we could, because it really doesn't cost that much. But then we would have to go and mail these out to vendors.
So before you do an RFP, I'm sorry, is there somebody making phone calls to find out these? I guess I'm lost in the process. If we vote to move forward on investigating this, who, is it you, Pauline, that would then start the ball?
I already have Waterford's, I've already spoke to Orion quite a few times. Our attorney actually has dealt with quite a few in his area that have already converted. I really like Waterford's, it's the latest and the greatest, and actually the supervisor said, I took a little from here, and so he created this one that I was even surprised at how many options he had. So I wanted to work with legal, or at least bring something back to you guys so that we can have something, but at the same time, we didn't want to go too far down the road without knowing how we all felt.
And I have talked with many of the communities at the supervisors meeting, and I followed the process. As you remember, a few years ago, I tried to do this, and everybody said, no, I love my garbage man. And I give him a 6-pack of beer, he picks up everything I got, but a lot of those garbage men are out of business now. So now even those people have told me I am ready for a one-hauler system. So I've been following this process for a long time. And I'm willing to, Orion Township, like I said, Rochester Hills, Brian Barnett started this with Republic a long time ago, and then Chris Barnett out of Orion Township, he's gone through the process, and just recently Waterford went through the process, and it's a process that I think that we don't have to reinvent now, because we can follow some of what they've done already. So I just think that we'll bring it back to everybody, what everybody else has done, and we can pick and choose what's best for us.
Karen, are we not answering, are you asking what is the process to go through the full procedure, or?
No, I understand that it would be a request for minutes and all that. It was more of that step before that, so, but it sounds like you've already been looking into it.
Waterford was
So.
great because they gave me their outline, so I could kind of judge how long it's gonna take. They're a lot bigger than us, so it might go a little bit quicker, but it was very helpful that they gave me all of it.
Anyways, what I'll second for is as a motion to
There's a
authorize.
motion, now seconded.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Who would I talk to as a township resident if I wanted to input on this?
Well, you could talk to me, but I mean, input on.
Well, I'm just saying, like, a lot of small businesses went out of business. And then we're probably gonna end up supporting the really big business who can run it cheaper, which is great. But you also, when you do that, you kind of cut out startup companies and that kind of a thing, and then the big business gets sort of more powerful.
Well, that, we have to just, we'll go out to bids, and it's a bidding process.
Yeah,
We have to
but it's
follow
something to
that.
think about, because, when companies become too huge, then there's an issue
We
with
realize that.
all the small startups. Like, there's a bill in Lansing right now that regulates those companies a little more.
Yeah, well, what our problem is the dump sites also. They become so few, and there's only, and some of them are becoming full, and that also goes into the whole process. So we have to, what we need to do is we need to go out to bids for this, and then it may be a smaller company that gets the bid on this. We don't know. They may be the cheapest one, but we have to treat everybody fairly on it, and we'll certainly consider when we put the proposals out. But
And then we would always just go with the cheapest bid as the
no,
township?
we don't always go with the cheapest bid.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just thinking, because like, right now, the big companies are backing the increased fee and regulation in Lansing, because it's gonna cut out the small guy.
Correct. And not only that, you start a little company and they buy you out, and immediately that company's out of business too.
Yeah.
So, but we won't discuss that at this time because we have to keep it fair.
So I just wonder, like, when do I discuss that? Like, if I was, when it gets more further along and then there's a
You
public
can come
hearing
to
on
the
it?
meetings and have public comment.
Okay.
Okay, we had a motion.
She had, Linda made the
A
motion.
motion to authorize the administration to move forward with proposal documents. Okay.
And that includes all three of you, right? You're involved in it as well, Lori?
I'm sure I will be.
Good, yeah, so.
So, and you have a second on that. Is there any other discussion? This is just a proposal so that we can bring back some proposals to the board and then we can look at them. Okay, we'll have a roll call now, please.
Edward Cook.
Yes?
Karen Idle.
Yes.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Lori Fisher. Yes. Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, results of the employee survey and authorization to solicit a professional service for employee 403B or 457 plan for the board review and their approval. I've been talking with the fire chief on this for a while. As you know, back in 2014, we had no retirement plan for the employees at the township, the full-time employees. And in 2014, the board voted in that we had a simple IRA. That was the very easiest way to get something started, and it was the quickest way. Now it's developed that the employees are putting into the simple IRA, but as you know, there are a lot of limitations to a simple IRA. And so what we're looking at is something that would allow the employees to actually put in more money into their retirement. As you know, the retirements, the old retirements, those days are gone. Now it's you have to take care of yourself on your retirements and put money away in an IRA or a 457 or 403B. What I'm looking for is, if the board agrees, is for us to move forward and seek some information on agreements for professional services for these 457s and the 403Bs. And, you know, we've had discussions with MERS, that's a Michigan retirement system, and we've had them come speak, and their rates were very impressive. And so we're looking at that, but so what I'm looking for is a motion to authorize us to solicit professional service for employee 403B or 457 for the board's review and approval. And the supervisor, I am in charge of the benefits program. And but I would like to ask Jerry, the fire chief, to assist me with this, because you have a large amount of full-time employees, and it's only going to get bigger. And this is very important because we cannot attract good personnel to work. And as you know, we have advanced life support systems here, because we are so far away from the hospital. So what we can do in that ambulance is what you can do at the hospital. And for us to get high-quality people and keep them, we've got to have a retirement plan like the other cities and townships have. So MERS is generally what the other municipalities have. And when we tried to hire some more personnel, we found that a lot of people weren't willing to move unless they also had a way of moving their retirement at the same time. So I'd like to ask if Jerry would be able to help me on putting some of this together. And of course, if anybody else would like to, that's fine. But I'd like to get the ball rolling on it. So
I think the survey was very clear, 18 to 5, that they wanted to go forward. So I'd like to make the motion to authorize us to solicit professional service for either the 403B or 457 plan for the board to review and approve. That'll be it.
I'm sorry, I had a question before.
yes.
I think it's going to say, the way that this is written on number 6 says to solicit a professional service. Are you looking to solicit several options for us to look at?
Yes.
Okay, you're not gonna go pick it and come back and say this is what we chose.
No, we're gonna
Because that's the way
open
it's
it up
worded.
to several different companies,
Okay.
but we had some discussion, and a couple of them they're fees are extremely high, and then there are some that they waive those because they're a different type of organization and for government workers, so I think that we'll
I think
research on.
where I'm going with that motion is, you already talked to MERS, so MERS is there. It would only be a benefit to make sure you talk to one or two others to make sure that is the one that is going to give us the best results. So I think we can't tie it in until they have an opportunity to talk to MERS and talk to the other one. So that's where my motion was going.
So we have a question.
I just wanted to clarify, I think we're on the same page with this. It may be a 401A that we're looking at, and it would be and a 457 if they work together.
I checked with Raina, and Raina said it's 403B, because that's what I put on the thing was 401A, and Raina goes, no, you want a 403B or a 457, so that's where I got that from.
But I think either way, the 401A and the 403B,
Are
it still
probably
has
not the
to work,
same.
it has to work with the 457, so it needs to be even. Because the employer contributions went into one, the employee contribution.
I'm okay with my motion as it stands. If they come back and say that the two are gonna work together, that's fine. If they come back and say they can remain separate, you guys, when you're reviewing them, they can decide which is the best plan. So I'm just authorizing to go forward either way. So my motion stands.
Any other comments? We have a motion, did we have a second? No seconds?
I'll second the motion.
Trustee Garrett, have a second on it? No comments? Roll call, please.
Karen Guyroll.
No.
Linda Garrett.
Yes.
Ed Baker.
Yes.
Lori Fisher.
Yes.
Bennett, yes. Supervisor Pearson.
Yes. Okay, passes. We'll move on now to item number 7. This is a discussion on the possible use of the American Rescue money that we believe is coming. I think we have $648,000 coming as of last count. And it's kind of a moving target. I did talk with Congresswoman Slotkin while we were on the boat on Lakeville Lake, and she said there might be some more information coming down the pike. And Lori was with me there, and she said that they're trying to broaden the aspects, so we don't know where this is going, but as of right now, if we look at what is available to Addison Township under the guidelines of the few things that they gave us, it looks like broadband is the only one that we qualify for. The other townships, I met with the township, all the township supervisors today, and we're all in the same boat. Okay, they didn't give us a whole lot of leeway.
Right, that's the only thing you would spend the money on?
They didn't give us a whole lot of leeway. They gave us just about 6 items that we can spend the money on. That's why I'm waiting to hear Congresswoman Slotkin to hopefully that there's something else that would open up so that we could spend it on some other needs in this township. But as of right now, that's what we have. So I'll open this up for discussion from the board members. Go right ahead.
There was quite a lengthy packet that was given to us and amended recently, and I mean, it's 27 pages long. And as I read through it, it goes through a whole litany of things that you can spend the money on. And it talks about use of funds, a broad range of services. I mean, it talks about helping facilities. It talks about direct money assistance to residents. I mean, unless I'm off on this,
A lot of it's still up in the air, but yeah, they keep expanding it, so that's why we're starting that board discussion.
right, and so, I mean, you know, when you said broadband, I guess that's the only thing, I guess I'm confused as to, there's a whole list of stuff in here that needs to be considered.
In the beginning, that was our only choice, was infrastructure or broadband. And it seems, and as it comes in, Bruce is gonna get more information on it, but in the beginning, that's really all it was for.
That's it. And I talked to Congressman Slotkin, and I explained that the smaller townships and stuff, that he didn't give as much choice on there. She understands that. And some of the stuff we don't qualify for, okay? Some of the money during the COVID and everything, we didn't spend, so we aren't eligible to get that money back. And there are a lot of things that, if you look at it, when it came down to what we really are, we can spend that kind of money on is broadband. And we really don't have internet service for the rural areas of this township, and that's another whole issue. But like I said, I'm gonna keep our powder dry right now, because I'm hoping that she'll come back, because she took our concerns with her. And I'm hoping that they'll broadband. We can't even use it for sewers and different things like that. There were an awful lot of things that we thought we could use it, and we can't. And
So I guess I'm sorry, I'm confused then why this says, it talks about what the types of services are eligible and what use of funds can be used. And when it talks about assistance to households, assistance to small businesses, you're saying this doesn't apply to us? Or, I mean, is this just a guideline?
No, we're loosening up. Some of those items will apply
some
to
of them
us.
are, but these are items that, like you say, for the whole community. What do we want to use the money for the whole community? They're not letting us use it for roads or improvements on that. They're not letting us use it for, well, we didn't really use a whole lot of extra money for the fire department or whatever. We were able to handle that ourselves. If you read them in there, there's very few things that apply to us that we can use it for the whole community.
I agree. The only other thing I would say is that maybe we should have some kind of committee that, like some kind of committee
I'm
that's gonna
asking
make
everybody right
recommendations.
here. I mean, what would, what's your, I'm opening this
Not
up
if
to
I-
But
everybody.
this money has to be spent by like 2026, so you can allocate for future, and yeah, that's all we're here, so.
Yes, but you do have to, how would you say, I don't know the proper word where you actually obligate the money, and that obligation is gonna come before 2026. You have that
Right.
extra time to finish it, so we do have to obligate the money. But I think the whole point of doing this is just to get an idea. It's not gonna be a permanent, just some thoughts. Where are we? What would you like to see? Some communities are actually going down the road of a park. They're gonna ask their representative, hey, can we use this for a park? What's on your dream list? That's all this is. It's not a definitive. What are some of the board's thoughts?
I mean, I've heard from a lot of citizens that they want their own private stuff done, and I said that it's gotta be a community project. It's gotta be something for the community. So that's what I'm asking. Well, if anybody has any ideas,
I think this is a lot to think about at one meeting tonight. I mean, if this is ongoing and it's a meeting, and I would propose that we have a special committee that needs to make a proposal to the board.
well, that's all this was just to introduce it and ask people to start thinking. This is where we're deciding. I mean, we don't have to do that. I think 2023 is when the money has to start being spent, So I'm asking everybody to put their thinking caps on and tell me what you think. And as you hear something from the rescue plan when they start opening it up, and I'm waiting to hear, because there are other projects that we would like to see done. And if they open up, please let us know and everybody think about it,
Well, we have one suggestion from a resident, and they would like the township to consider, and I can't read it, pay for the drilling of 2 test wells at Copper Hills, and then number 2, manage and pay for water testing on the surrounding Copper Hills residents. That was from Rob Santa. Me personally, I get phone calls all the time, hey, I don't have broadband. What am I gonna do about broadband? How can I have broadband? I would call up Charter. Charter is like, about that, can't service them, there's not enough. So I think and this is in my idea, is a committee, there's only 6 of us here. My first preference, and this is just my personal preference, would to try to find out what is an economical way to give the rest of our residents broadband, because it's so important in this day and age to have broadband. Also, I found out that you can pool this money with money from the state, because the state is also saying everybody has to have broadband. So until we kind of come up with some ideas, again, I don't want to put tons, or actually whoever's going to look at this up, tons of time into finding what is the best way to do broadband if maybe that's not what we want to do. My second option, and I think I have three, my second option is I'm all about green. It would be to either buy another park and have a nature park and trails. Third option would be to finally develop this park out here for something for the kids to do. So there's a wide variety of things that we can do as a township, but I think we do need to start thinking, what do we want to do?
Well, Mr. Supervisor, it seems like Pauline's kind of led me to a suggestion. Is it possible we could just table this until next month and then we give us all a chance to?
That's all that I brought it up, is so everybody would start thinking.
Without getting committees, without choosing what is going to be, just let us table it and then just.
Bring it back next month?
There's nothing in motion right now that we could even do except think right now.
No, there are forms that need to be filed, and I don't know who's going
Yeah.
to take charge of that.
We'll do it.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion, we table this until next month.
I just have one quick comment. One of the allowable uses was infrastructure, but not roads. So I guess I would encourage everybody to call the legislature and complain about the scope of this and ask for it to be broadened.
To roads, yes, infrastructure is not included. They're talking about releasing money for infrastructure. Haven't seen that yet. But that is a very important one, Lori.
We had a motion, do we have a second? Anybody second it? The table
Motion
is,
to table, I'll support.
we have support, all more comments. And this, I guess we should have roll call.
Okay.
I vote, everyone in favor of tabling this, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say nay. Okay, we'll table this. Okay. I think we're on to public forum. If there's anybody in the public that would like to speak, this is your time. You're just limited to 3 minutes, and that we don't interact and we don't answer. This is our time where we have to listen to you. So go right ahead.
Does anybody else have an issue with the gypsy, if their trees to die? And I think maybe the township, because like I talked to Stolz's too, they're near me. So my big oak over my driveway that burns my car every day, and they defoliated probably 3/4 of the tree. And they have a tree that was totally defoliated. So I wondered if anybody else has that problem, and maybe some, there is a spray and it's specific to the gypsy moth because it's like an enzyme, not harmful to anything else. And we don't want to lose our trees in Addison Township.
Anyone else like to speak?
Lois Friesman.
Did you say that again, please?
Lois Friesman.
Thank you.
I'm back on Valentine off the right. Our whole, half of our neighborhood, the trees are defoliated, we have anywhere from 4 to 10 acres, It didn't go all the way down, but I think if you haven't been down Ray Road, you should look. Go Ray Road toward M24, and you'll just be amazed how little. And what my other concern is, it's killing the pine trees. I think it's going to kill the pine trees. We have these huge white pines that are just going to be, I don't think, a lot of them can't recover, I guess, the pine trees, from what I'm reading. But I just see Macomb County, so this has had a gypsy moth suppression program since 1993. And there, you submit that you have a problem, and so that's countywide, and they put you on the spraying for that May or whatever. And I'm just concerned why they can do it in Oakland County. I guess Rochester Hills has something, my understanding. And I'm not sure how theirs is working. But I don't know, it's awful. So the thing is, I went up north and I saw all the way from Bay City up to Grayling on I-75 trees that were stripped, on the road.
Yeah, it got
So-
addressed quickly too.
Hmm?
Yeah.
I'll address this in my
So-
supervisor's report, but right now, this is your time. to
Yeah,
tell us
so that,
what we're
it's just,
listening to you.
they, in our neighborhood, they talked about contracting separately for spraying, but I'm concerned it's gonna affect the whole township. It's not just,
Yeah,
they
it's not-
spread. And I guess they spread on cars, they spread, the egg masses, and then they hang from the trees on these, whatever, it spreads. And so it's gonna be a township issue and probably an Oakland County issue.
Yes. Anybody else have any comments that they would like us to hear? Any other comments?
I'm gonna just say one thing. The amount of money that's gonna be being spent with the American Relief Program, there's a part inside of me that thinks, do we really wanna spend gobs and gobs of money in this country and drive inflation mad? So there's a part of me, I know this is probably not gonna happen, but there's a part of me that says just don't spend it. Because it's just gonna drive everything sky high. And the inflation is gonna destroy the country. And my heart is sad for that.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, we'll close the public forum then. Any Addison Township board reports? Anybody on the boards that have any reports?
I got a real quick one. NODA has purchased, we were given authorization to purchase 2 new vans for the seniors, and that's great. They're both Dodge Rams. Beautiful trucks. Normally it's what did they say, like a 20 or 40 week delivery, but they located one company that had 4 of them, and they were lucky enough to get 2 of them. So these are 2 brand new vans, and they'll be taking delivery soon. Pollyann Trail, look for the green shirts. We just got all new green shirts that has the Pollyann Trail on it. Some golf shirts, some really pullovers and ball caps, and they're very nice, well put together. So look on the Pollyann Trail, and I'm sure they've got the ads for the new shirts.
For sale?
For sale. So, and they have the prices on the website.
Yep.
Thank you, sir.
Ed and I got our hats already.
We got our hats and shirts.
I just have a really brief one as well. MTA, I was with MTA for most of the week last week, and they had one speaker that really brought it to our attention that there are 1,240 townships in Michigan, but yet they are constantly trying to take away township rights, especially under zoning. So right now, there's short-term rental and also mining, which will be allowed anywhere. So he was trying to get across to us that if all of the elected officials and the residents who are taking part of the meeting started calling, and like Lori said, call your representative for more for roads. If we all did that whenever we got our message from Judy, contact your state rep, it would make a difference. So we could actually keep our control, we could actually change laws, but we have to become more vocal. Judy is our person that is like our lobbyist in Lansing, but she can't do it all. It has to come from us as being a part of the township. So that's what I took away from that, and it was like, we can do this. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on then to legal reports and communications. None?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to the supervisor report. Yes, we have gypsy moths. And I contacted Mike Spiz, our county commissioner. And I was at the supervisors meeting today, and I was advised from another county commissioner, yes, it was brought up to the county at their county commission meeting. We are looking for some form of relief. We're going to keep monitoring it. We can either do an SAD, a special assessment district, or we can put a millage on. But people have to understand it didn't hit everywhere all at once. I talked to a lot of supervisors, and they're not getting it. But then I found out up in Metamora, they had stripped the trees. In front of my house on Noble Road, it stripped the white oaks that they're going after. We understand they're not affecting the other trees. We get down to the southwest portion along the Oxford line, and it stripped the trees down there too. It's in pockets, but it's in Oxford, it's everywhere. So I did talk to Spid, our commissioner, on this, and we're going to see, years ago, Oakland County did spray. It's $150 an acre. If we sprayed the whole township, it's 23,040 acres. We're talking $3.5 million, okay? we'd have, that money would have to come from a millage or an SAD or something. If we do it with the county, they'll send out teams to find out where it's at, and maybe we can spray those particular areas, but it's gotta be coordinated with all the townships. And we do know that, yes, they do spray in parts of Macomb County, but Lapeer borders our whole northern end, and I haven't seen them spraying or anything. So we've got, hopefully, we've got time. We all know that you can't spray now, you have to spray before May 15th. And now that these larvae are gonna hatch, okay, and you're gonna have these moths coming out. Well, then after that, then they come back, and then you'll see these big hubs of nests on the trunks of the trees. And then that's where we have to get the survey done, where we find those, and then we have to spray, like you say, it's almost like a earth. They say it's a bacterium, it's a harmless powder that will kill those before they hatch out of the nest, and that's when we have to get them. So this year, nobody ever expected it to be this bad. We did have some warnings. Oxford, the supervisor, Jack, over in Oxford, he and I have been talking about this, and they voted that they didn't want to pay the money to do anything because nobody knew how bad it, because they're always here. It's just that some years you have a really bad year. So the oak trees will survive 1 year of this. They may survive like 2 years of this, but by the 3rd year they won't survive. So we know that depending on what we get the information on MSU or the DNR, we'll coordinate. So we are working on this, and I believe we'll have a solution by next year. But this year it's too late; they're already here. So the other thing is, I'd like to say just a few words about Chuck Sargent. You know, that man, he was a very dedicated Marine. He was very proud of being a Marine, and we thanked him for his service. He was extremely proud, and you could see in his mannerism that he was a military man. The way he went after every issue in a precise way, and we thank him for that. He was very passionate, extremely passionate about working with the township. You could see that. He always had questions, always had questions. And he was enthusiastic about it. I mean, there's a guy that lived and breathed it. He was very enthusiastic about it. And this man, he could research any item, and when he came back to a meeting, he knew everything about that item, and he could inform us and educate us on every item. He loved to do the research, so he will be very much missed, and I hope his family can handle all of this. I know they're from out of state, and they've come up, and we're trying to find out what the arrangements are. But I think it won't be until July or something. They're going to have some kind of memorial. But he will be very much missed. I had a pleasure of working with him at the hazmat. I asked him, he was appointed to the hazmat, and I told him, I know you don't have a truck, so I loaded up my truck with all the paint, the gas, and the oil and everything. But he went up there to work. And when I pulled in there were over 1,000 cars that eventually lined up. And here he was, just like a Marine, directing traffic, and you could see that he, you know, that those years in the Marine, it just never left him. And he was directing traffic left and right. And I only had a couple seconds to say hi to him, but I was impressed that he took on anything that we asked him to do, and he did it really well. So that's all I have to say about Chuck, and he will be missed. So I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
And we have support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Let's go have cake.